T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
You are now tapped into the coolest reptile podcast in the world. Welcome to Trap Talk Reptile Podcast, episode 366 on a Thursday night, the main nights of the week. We're back, baby. When I say we're, as you can see on the thumbnail, Dave Levison and myself. Back on a beautiful Thursday night. I'm your boy, MJ. I'm your, I don't know, I'm ready to rock and roll. How are you guys doing out there? How's everyone been? I hope everyone's had a great week. First and foremost, if this is your first time tapping in on this podcast, do me a favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and then select that bell. Hit that bell. It says all. And then you'll be on top of every single piece of content I drop here on this podcast. If you're going to keep it reptiles, breeding, admiring, just overall keeping, whatever, man. If you're interested in reptiles, this is the best podcast to affiliate yourself with, because I bring everything that's the most relevant to the podcast world, and I just bring the best of the best in the reptile world here on this channel. So I just want to say, first and foremost, thank you to all my viewers. Thank you to anyone who supports this channel. You guys are awesome. If you do listen to this podcast on all the other audio platforms such as Buzzsprout, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the major audio platforms, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. If you're looking for exclusive content, go down to the very first link in the description below. Click on that link and join the Trap Talk Patreon family. As soon as you join the Patreon family, you will get a link to the Discord, and that will tap you in with over 170 trappers. You'll get a link to the Instagram group chat that just pops off 24/7. It's such a great time. But either way, man, it's just a way to connect to some real reptile people, some people who have nothing but longevity going on in their game plans. Thank you so much, Trap Talk Patreon family. Love you guys so much. And damn, Pomona is right around the corner. Who's ready for Pomona? Speaking of Pomona, tonight's episode's brought to you by the Reptile Super Show. #1 reptile super show in the country. Killing the West Coast. It is about that time for the hottest time of the year. Pomona. Are you going to Pomona? Are you vending Pomona? Do you know somebody vending Pomona? Do you know somebody vending Pomona that you might want to buy a snake from? Do you know I'm vending Pomona? Again. This is my first August Pomona, though, so I'm very excited. I have some sick shit to bring, actually. I'm really excited. So if you want to see what the trap has available, first and foremost, go to my Instagram, TrapTalkGod619, hit me up, but come see my booth, man. Come hang out with me. Come hang out with the homie Matthew Summers. I will be doing a live Trap Talk Reptile podcast again in the middle of the Reptile Super Show, which was last time was a great success. We had Canadians stop by. We had some of the heaviest hitters walking the show stop by the podcast last time. And I think this coming Super Show, it's not going to be any different. If not, it's going to be heavier. It's Pomona. People know who go to Pomona. It's no joke. Extra, extra hot at Pomona. Listen, other than the Reptile Super Show, I will say that tonight's episode is brought to you by Juggernaut Reptiles. This guy has done some amazing stuff this year, but if you really want to know what I'm talking about, go follow him on Instagram. See what's going on with his projects. This guy's been putting in mad work for many years, and he is hitting some stuff that's never been hit before. Legit. Thank you so much, Elijah, Tiffany, Juggernaut Reptiles. Go also subscribe to their YouTube channel. These guys, I mean, second to none content, man. Some of the originators right here, like as far as YouTube stuff goes, some of the very first YouTube content when it came to reptiles started with Juggernaut Reptiles. And to have him supporting this channel means a lot to me. So go fuck with my man Elijah. Go follow him on MORPH Market. You can find all the links in the description below. Thank you so much, Juggernaut Reptiles. Dave Levison, ladies and gentlemen, here he is. He is here tonight. He's back, ready to go. Is that your favorite shirt?
I haven't worn this one in a while. I just grabbed the first thing I saw.
How you been, Dave?
Been good, man. Well traveled. How about you?
I'm good. I feel not bad, but I know you're probably a little bit tapped out right now. Traveling does a lot, I know, for one thing. And when you leave what you do, it's nothing but catching up like a motherfucker, I'm assuming. And is that what's happening right now?
Yeah, what happens is you get home and you say you'll catch up in a day, and then you do it again. You say a day, and next thing you know, you miss an entire week and you're playing catch up. So I'm hoping it's almost over. I got a couple more trips to take, and then I'm just going to settle in.
So what trips do you have ahead of you?
I might be in Kentucky this weekend. I should be in Schaumburg in a week. And then the weekend after that, I'm undecided. I'm either in Virginia Beach or I'm in San Antonio. Right now, it might be San Antonio because it's a shorter drive.
Okay. And obviously we're talking shows that you're going to be traveling. These isn't like, because we went to Florida and that was a little bit of hockey business. It wasn't just reptile stuff.
Yeah, I went down there to play some hockey in a tournament, and I got to see my family I haven't seen in a little while. So it was just a vacation, let's say. I don't say that often, but it was a vacation.
How's everything at home as far as dogs go?
Oh, man, it's going good. This is George. He's new.
Hey,
Found him
George.
on the road about 2-3 weeks ago. I don't know, he's pretty chill. And then I got another one next to me. It was the neighbor's dog. It showed up over the winter time. Neighbors told us just to keep it. So now we got 2 coon dogs.
Oh man. Dave, listen, I want to kind of talk a little bit about as far as I don't know. I feel like this is kind of for me at least, one of the weirdest times in my reptile career, just because, as far as content goes, been a lot of exposing going on as you already know. And I don't know, man. Is this a normal thing for you? Obviously, because you've been in this for a while. I mean, how do you take all this stuff that's happening really right now?
I feel like it's a similar product with a different brand. I was actually talking about Fauna the other day and their BOI or FBI section, and how once you get on there, there's no coming out of it. Like, they won't delete it. Even if it's false, the website would keep it up. It's forever. So I think what's happening right now is it's just, man, we just all can see each other's entire fucking lives every single day in this industry with Facebook. I don't know, man. It seems like a lot, but I think it's just the same. It's always been, just a little more on blast.
Yeah. I mean, I just feel like there's always going to be some new current event at this point, because how everything's vulnerable to being seen, or
Yeah.
you might have that disgruntled or pissed off employee that just says, fuck it, I'm gonna start recording shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that stuff scares me. I mean, I don't want to be a weirdo, but I probably say certain things I shouldn't say in life. But I usually do it privately. Not to say that the things I say are that bad, but some things are supposed to be one-on-one conversations.
How have sales been for you overall? Like, I mean, obviously I'm sure you have stuff that you have to do online other than vending. So are things going anywhere as far as consistent for you right now, or what's that like?
It's a little bit of back and forth. I think right now, if anything, it's just keeping a close eye on what's going on in the industry. One thing that's always been a mistake on my end is sometimes I set a price point and then I don't check my price points. And right now, with things moving around the way they are and some people adjusting their prices, long story short, I got to pay more attention. If I don't pay attention, people aren't going to look at my ads because I'm overpriced. So little things like that, I got to be paying more attention to. The right animals will always sell in the industry, man. If you got something good, people are going to buy it from me. And there's a lot of people that are not struggling right now.
Yeah. I mean, I can't, argue that at all. I just feel like there is people out there who are taking advantage of good sales wherever they can get them. I hear that vending is doing pretty well right now for some people. And then I also hear that some people aren't doing too well. So I guess it's just a little bit of both, right?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I've had some below average shows, and then I've had some doing exactly what they're supposed to. I always blame myself when I have a bad show, especially if people around me are having a good show. So I don't know, man. It's tough love on yourself is maybe a good thing.
Do you but do you notice at all that the West Coast prices on, like, and I'm only noticing on ball pythons, obviously, because that's really the only market I'm in when it comes to selling. But are you noticing there's a price difference in the ball python market from the West and the East Coast? Like, I'm noticing. I don't know if I'm tripping, but I'm noticing like prices. How I would want to price stuff is being priced at on the East Coast and West Coast. Things just seem to be a lot cheaper. I don't know why. I could be tripping.
Well, how about this? Two parts to that. First off, the rodent on the East Coast might be cheaper than the rodent on the West Coast for feeding. Your labor on the West Coast might be more than your labor on the East Coast for help. There might be certain factors on why certain people can charge less on the East than the West Coast. Back when I lived in Buffalo, New York, I used to do a lot of shows in the Southeast because the Northeast was so cutthroat. But if I drove down to the Carolinas or Tennessee, I could ask more money for certain animals, and they sold faster. So I think regionally you're always going to have a little bit of a difference, but the reality is it costs more money to produce the animal in California than a lot of other states.
Now, I always said one of the best things I could have done due to the advice I got first coming into wanting to build a collection was, be diverse, have don't just put everything in one, right? And luckily that worked out for me in a sense where, yeah, okay, at one point I might have more than one stuff available for sale, but I'm having fun working with all this different stuff, right? For anyone out there who didn't do that and is more heavy into just working into one species, but is considering getting into something else, do you encourage that? Like, do you encourage someone like, hey, if you can, like, get your hands into something else? Or do you feel like, because how times are right now, maybe don't do that?
Well, two-part answer on that one. First off, those animals that you might want now might be cheaper than they are in 2 years. I slept on a lot of different species 5-10 years ago. I mentioned I could have bought a Boelen's python for $1,200 or $800 in 2004, 2003. There's a lot of species that if I would have bought in a certain time, it'd been for a fraction. But then, like you said, with expanding your collection in other species, that's never a bad thing as long as you know the responsibility you're taking on. I always harp that, if you're going to work with a species like a colubrid, anything else you incorporate into your collection, you might want to have as a species that roommates. You don't want to have to take certain parts of your collection and treat them certain ways unless you have the environment for it, man. You got plenty of space, live it up.
What would be something comparable breeding and keeping like a ball python, you would say?
Angolan pythons, buddy. I think that's another species that does very well. The price went up on them a good bit. I've always really liked them. That's comparable. There's a lot of other constrictors, the dwarf constrictors, like spotted python, stuff like that, not terribly far off. It's honestly, ball pythons are, I hate to say it, I've said it before, but they are very easy compared to other species. So it's the training wheels, man. It's the confidence builder. You get into ball pythons, it's hard to get defeated unless, sales get you down. But when it comes to actually working with the species, most people are very successful. I don't know, man. I like diversifying, but I'm also addicted to the hobby. I'd like to say someday that I've produced over 100 species. I talked to Ron St. Pierre one time, and he said he's produced over 250 in his life. What a beautiful thing to be able to say.
250 different species?
Yeah, Ron St. Pierre says he's over 250.
That has to be a record, obviously.
It's got to be pretty close, but I think there's actually some other diamond in the rough breeders in the industry that have done more than we think they've done.
Now, Ryan Young always stood out in my head because I always thought he had the most python species under his belt, which is around 30.
It's a lot.
Yeah, which is not. That right there. No offense to any breeder, but that's what I want. I want that kind of flex. Like I want that on my resume, just like me being able. And like I said, I would say for the most part, a lot of this shit Ryan could do over and over and over again. It wasn't. I don't know. I want to be able to adapt to any of that type of shit. And what's still crazy to me is how he hatches everything out of one big walk-in incubator, which is basically another room.
Isn't that nice? Go back to one other thing on that to kind of wrap that up, though, is, I kind of threw a few numbers out there in certain species worth certain things. Another thing, too, which I've been saying a lot lately is it's really hard to be great at something if you're not passionate about it. Some people buy into species because they see a money opportunity. Yeah. I do think that's one of the reasons, too, why some people fizzle out of ball pythons. They got a certain idea in their head when they come into it. They do the math of what their clutches are worth, how fast they're going to sell, and then when things don't, a lot of people just get out. Again, man, you gotta want to do what you're doing. If not, you're probably just not right for it in the first place.
Listen, I gotta say that one of the best new keepers coming into the game that I enjoy helping out. Not that I enjoy helping out everyone, but I'm just saying, like, these are my favorite, are the ones that are inspired to do it because of their kids. You know what I mean? They mainly want something their kids to have responsibility over, but they also aren't stupid either and know that there could be a market in this if everything works how it could work. You never know, right? Either way, the whole breeding thing comes later. It's not something that's like a necessity right now. But then, this is also like, no matter what, you could say it's for the kids, but this right here makes us feel like kids. This is for us, regardless. Like if I told you, Dave, like, hey, I want to get a snake for my son, AKA me, you know what I mean? Like I'm going to be taking care of that thing for the most part, helping him take care of it. You know what I mean? So, but that's why the youth is so important, bro. The youth, that's our future right there. The youth. That's why shows are so important. I had a great time at Anaheim Super Show. I only sold like a couple snakes, but shit, I sold 2 snakes I didn't think I was going to sell. I'll tell you that much. But I really just had good interaction with people. It was draining, bro. I'm not gonna lie, man. Shows, if you do it right, you are tapped out after a show, 110%.
Yeah, you should be exhausted after a day. If you got anything left in you, it means you didn't put in a big enough effort. I will say, and I've said it before, I'm on an autopilot at the shows now. I know when to put the effort in, when not to put the effort in. I'm usually pretty good at reading the room. But no, man, it's exhausting, but it's a good exhausting. And man, Anaheim's just another beast. That's a lot of people coming by your table.
A lot. It was a lot. And I don't know at what point it was, but I was figuring out, oh, this is what gets people to stick at your table. You let them hold a snake. It was like, hello, right? But then next thing you know, I had like 5 different kids holding snakes, and I was like, I think I should stop, because it was kind of like, oh, can we just look at anything we want? You know what I mean? And once I kind of let kids do their thing, it's hard for me to tell them no after a while. And then one of my homie Diego, who was working with me, he looked at me, he's like, are you sure you want to pull out another snake? I was like, nah, yeah, let's take it back. and we started putting them back, but it was fun. Like, it was cool to see these kids, like their faces were just dropped, and none of them bought shit, they just left.
Yeah, no, it's tough, man. I want to make everyone happy at the shows, and I do want to take things out for people, and I have trouble saying no, but like you said, like Salt Lake City show is a good example. A lot of people, 4 tables. I let out an animal over here. This kid right here says he really wants to hold something. These 2 people right here want to buy this animal, and they want to hold something different.
Yeah.
I got 5 animals out, and I'm working by myself, trying to make sure things aren't walking away, making sure they're not being mishandled. It's tough. I try to make everyone happy, but you can't ever make everyone happy,
Yeah, you can only do your best. I don't know if you can. Good. Were you say something?
Oh, no, I just back to your talk about the youth, man. I love exposing kids to this hobby, and we're getting to the point now too where we're getting a lot of 2nd-generation family breeders. Kids that have come up watching their dad do it for the last 10 years, and even like you probably know Brad Boa from the shows. His kids are extremely active in that collection. They are on top of things. Like, it is now a family business.
Yeah, Kevin's a G, man. His son Kevin, man, he holds that shit down, bro.
Yeah, no, he's been doing it. I don't know how old he was when he started, man, but he's been on top of it. He does great work. You could tell in the animals. But no, like I said, it's a really cool thing to do, because this is like us collecting toys or Pokemon cards, so we can maybe share it with our kids someday. And son of a bitch, they grow up to like it, and that's a positive.
Exactly. You catch wind of what I just did this week. I'm not sure if you got the word on the streets of which I feel like is going to be a pretty big interview, but Bob Clark. I just interviewed Bob Clark yesterday.
Yeah. I find it more weird that you have to question whether or not it was a good idea. I don't see why people shouldn't be able to say something. People will judge people how they judge them, but to silence somebody and not let them say their part is worse off, in my opinion.
Yeah, this is what impresses me about Bob Clark is no matter what you want to say about the guy, no matter what is said about the guy, he's 40 plus years into this, was one of the first, if not the first person to sit there and say, why don't I make these pets myself and then sell them versus just going to a pet shop, right? I asked him a question. I'm like, I asked him the question, do you know what your biggest production year was? Like, and I'm thinking like he was going to say like 2003 or like, and I was just going to think of just a random number. Right. And so he's like, oh, I think my biggest year is this year. And I'm like, Wow.
Yep.
And what's crazy is like you talk to all these people who've been in the game, any remotely close to that, they're either done, like they have nothing, or they're just downsizing. Like every year it's a down. This man in his 70s or about to be 70, I don't really know. I kind of guessed in my head. I didn't want to ask the guy's age, but regardless, he is breaking records at this point still for himself production wise. And I asked him, what do you want to do next year? He's like, I want to do more next year. I was like, what the fuck? He's like, the more snakes you have, the more to sell. I'm like, okay.
Well, I mean, there's a truth there. I mean, you could work it from so many angles, bud. You could do the wholesale if you want to be a wholesaler at that size. You could do half wholesale, half general public. You can run more sales. I mean, there is more room as a salesman when you have more product to sell.
And like I said, Bob Clark, like, say what you want, but he has a name, and he has people who will still do business with him no matter what, and like I said, I can't, never been to his place, never bought a snake from him. I can only go off what he or she says, but the guy had the balls, and I give him props for this, but he's like, do you want to go look at some big snakes? And he stood up and took us to his facility, and we walked around his facility. Guarantee not too many people at that level would do that. I don't think.
No, that's confidence in what you're doing. Did he show you the two-headed turtle?
No, I didn't know he had it. I would have asked about it. Yeah,
he's got a two-headed turtle in his office. I think he's had it for like maybe 20 or 30 years, man. Still a little red-eared slider doing its thing.
We had a good time, Dave, and he for sure wants to come back on. I would love for you to be a part of the round 2 if that's cool with you.
Yeah, no, I'd be happy to come on and just chit-chat with you guys. I've talked to Bob enough in the past.
Yeah, I can only imagine the questions you could have, though. Like, like I said, Dave, you're a huge asset to this podcast, to where you do have things to ask somebody that I wouldn't even think, because I wasn't here early 2000s. I mean, I was here, just not at the reptile industry or doing what you're doing. So, and to have someone like Bob Clark, like I said, the guy's a wealth of knowledge, bro. He knows a lot of shit, like a lot.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, man. It really does go both ways on what you just said, though, because, where I might step away from certain conversations that people want to hear about, you're in it, buddy. You don't hesitate, and I hesitate. I've always been a hesitator on that. And again, there's a lot of species that you have a better understanding than I do. You have a better understanding of the culture in the community. I enjoyed this dynamic because what I lack, you gain. What you lack, whatever the fuck I'm saying. I think it's a good balance that we can cover any topic between the two of us.
Yeah, no, for reals. And I've gotten that feedback quite ever since I brought you on the show. So, and by the way, I will say that shows. I mean, let me ask you this: how much do you feel like as far as educational reptile content, right? Do you feel like that there's a possibility for that without having to be the sensational side of things? Like how do you feel about Emily from Discovery? Like, was it Discovery? What's her name? Animal?
Snake Discovery.
Like,
right?
Do you feel like she's the best one doing it when it comes to child animal content? Like where it's not like, holy shit, this is ridiculous. I'm curious.
Well, yeah, because she has a energy about her, but not like a fake energy, I guess you could say. Like, she has excitement about what she's doing, and I think kids really feed into that. They enjoy her excitement. She has that wholesome kindergarten teacher look to her, man. Like, I think that she has a great niche in that community doing what she's doing. Do
you think I can pull something off like that?
Well, here's the thing. It depends on what your brand is. You're going to go with something natural. You're going to try to fake something just to get clicks.
No, I figure be me, just not be me. If that makes sense. Like, I still want to be me, just not me.
Well, I mean, here's the thing.
I want to be welcoming to children. Like, obviously this isn't welcoming to children. I always tell people that, like, I have a dirty mouth, but I also have a way to connect with kids. I always had that connection, I feel like. And I don't know. The only thing is, you do have to act a certain kind of like level of not yourself to relate to kids. That's why Emily's Emily, because even though Emily's Emily, she has kind of like, oh my God, you know what I mean? Like that little like perk in her, right? You got to have that little perk for kids to match with. And, so I would have to somehow do some deep searching on what I would want that perk to be, but where it's not overkill and not like where like, whoa, what is MJ doing? It would definitely take some practice for sure. But
figuring out exactly what that brand's going to be for you. You know, what are those videos and interactions supposed to be? How do you want them to be? What's the content going to be? I mean, once you get that figured out, it's going to be easy. And, you know, you got a kid on the way, man. So I'm sure you're going to want to expose him to new stuff.
That's exactly why I want to do it. I think because like, I feel like I could help. I could be a part of this education for my own kid. You know what I mean? And which is also teaching me how to be around, like how to actually talk to a child or how to actually teach a child. You know what I mean? And this is like not, you know, I'm not saying I'm launching this shit next week or anything. I'm speaking futuristic type stuff. And I would like to, like, I always thought it'd be cool to write a kid's book. I'm not even joking. I daydream that much where I always thought I could write a fucking sick ass kid's book. You know what I mean?
You know, it's really funny. Like, I don't even think it's a weird thing to tiptoe around. You know, I love kids, like you're saying. You know, I love interacting with kids. I really love exposing kids to animal content. You know, I enjoy the excitement because I remember my excitement as a kid. You know, things that what I believe would have made me happy as a 5-year-old is what I try to project to 5-year-olds when I see them at a show. I don't know. Like I said, man, I think with all this YouTube stuff, because I put a lot of thought into it myself on, you know, if I did more or wanted to do more, like, you know, can I do it without being another version of Steve Irwin? It's not a rude thing to try to say, and I've said it before, but like, you know, you can tell our generation and even the generation older than us watch that guy and the popularity that he got being who he is.
Right.
And I do think that you do get a little bit of it in Brian's content. You get a little bit of it in Jeff Musial's content if you know him from New York. You know, I think a lot of these people bring a little bit of that Irwin energy, I guess, to their podcast, or not to their podcast, but to their content.
Right.
Because that's what they were used to, and that's maybe what got them in the game.
Yeah, you know, I'm just saying, you know, there's this because of YouTube, the skies is limitless. Like like you could just go ahead and do whatever the fuck you want. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's like, but you have an opportunity on this platform, which scares me. I always feel like, man, this is too good to be true. Like, I feel like YouTube gives you such an opportunity to put yourself out there where if you do it, if you do it passionately and you do it with dedication, it could pick up and you could actually build something off of it. But also, it's a grind. It's one of the hardest things to do, for sure. That's why everyone's not doing it to that level. But man, go ahead.
I was going to ask you with content. I don't know if you've seen, but I saw a lot of podcasters this past week talking about how Twitter is now paying people for content on there, and just all these creators got like checks in the mail unexpectedly. One got one for like 23,000. Another one got one for like 6,000 and change, and they weren't told about it. They just got it. Would you move this over to Twitter if there was an opportunity there also?
I talked to Barchek, and Barchek says Twitter's fucking crumbling. He says it's going down the shitter. Yeah, the game. I mean, because it's so like almost sexual content at this point. Like, that's where people go expose all their OnlyFans now, and it's just changed. Like, Twitter's not Twitter anymore.
I think that's a little bit of a reach to an extent. I think that it goes both ways on that. I think there were certain things about Twitter that were better before that are worse now, and better now than they were before. I mean, it's always been the wild, wild west on there. And, you know, you have control over your content and people have control over what they're watching. So, you know, there's shit on YouTube you can find that maybe some people won't approve of. It is what it is.
Have you heard Have you heard of Rumble?
I have heard of Rumble. I know that it's more of a right-leaning content source. I don't think they pay out very good. And I've heard about some trademark issues, like where they're putting movies on there they're not supposed to.
Yeah, that's all. I don't even know what to use. You know, I mean, YouTube is just that's the main outlet for me.
100%. Well, I guess my question is, why not use them all at this point? Why not go live on Twitter while you go on the other one? I got to put this asshole outside. You talk to us.
Yeah, no, you're good. No, that definitely makes a good point. Like, you know, I've been going on live on Twitch for I don't know how long, and I don't even really look into that. Twitch is like a whole, like, I just thought, why not? You know what I mean? So I started going live on Twitch, but Twitch and reptile stuff has only in relation to that is something I don't even want to bring up right now. So I just I don't know what I could definitely look into it. What's crazy is StreamYard gives, and StreamYard is something where I like it, but you somehow do have limits on certain things where you can only go live from certain platforms. I don't think Twitter is a option on here. So, but I do know there's ways of me just logging on to Twitter and going live straight from Twitter too, or some shit. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I'll look into it. I'll for sure. It doesn't hurt not to look into something, obviously. So I'll definitely see if that's maybe worth doing. But I had a good conversation with Barchek not too long ago, a couple days ago, and he was just telling me a little bit about Twitter and how it's not doing well.
I mean, I think they lost 50% of their sponsorship. If he's saying that's not doing well, I think bringing everybody back on for discussions. The problem is that Twitter got wrapped up into political stuff. People don't realize all the other things you use Twitter for, and I think because of that,
Elon Musk is when all that shit started like being weird. When Elon took it over, Elon bought it, right? Is that what happened?
Elon did buy it. Well, here's the thing: when you say weird and everything else, I mean, what headline did you read? It's I
don't know. It's true. I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, I don't even know what headline I read. I mean, you read what you read, and sometimes you just don't even pay attention. Obviously.
Here's the thing. I mean, if you listen to what he had to say, I mean, he even talks about he lost money on there. He's continually losing money on there. A guy that's losing money is now giving money away to people that just put content up there. It's hard to say. I think, I'll be honest. I believe what's going on with Twitter is he's going to move it into more of the actual news space and create some kind of maybe more of a news network with it.
Right.
I think he's going to encourage more independent people to put content on there and pay them for it, similar to YouTube and other stations. I don't even know if we're allowed to be even talking about this right now, man. Are we going to get like, can I even say these words on here? Am I saying too much?
You can say what you want. Yeah, man. Just don't get raised. Don't get all peak call.
I don't read headlines anymore. And I also don't harp on certain things. I do think that Twitter, I never really understood Twitter before. I have a better understanding of it now. I see potential there like any other place. I think the Metaverse came out with their line the other day. I forgot what they called it. I think they got 100 million followers immediately. But I heard it makes it, there's no search bar. I heard that all the they pre-censor all your content to what they think you can handle. They merged it with Instagram where your followers on Instagram can follow you on Twitter, but I've heard some complaints, and I think not Twitter, but or the other thing, the Metaverse one. So I don't think there's any making anyone happy, but I don't think there's ever going to be another Twitter. I think there's been 4 other Twitters since Twitter came out, and I don't even hear about them anymore.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what's happening with the countries having control of what you can even look at content-wise, because now what was already been happening in China, right? I think China was the one who had, you can't watch certain shit, especially at a certain age or whatever, or I don't even think period. You can't they just ban almost everything over there. And now that's kind of trickling to Canada. Like I see Canada where this content is not available in Canada or some shit like that. I mean, that's great.
It's weird, picking and choosing what people can handle. That means one person is deciding what's right and what's wrong, and then feeding that information to everybody else. It kind of goes back to me making the comment, why wouldn't you talk to Bob? Why does one person not get a voice in this world?
Yeah.
So I don't know if that'll be the case now. I do know that the censorship thing is always everybody's fear. I don't know, man. I'm probably easily censorable, I think, but that's more behind the scenes shit. I don't say the shit that I say behind the scenes publicly.
And that's because you're a businessman at the end of the day too, man. You work with sales, you work with relationships that involve big business deals at, certain points of your career. So you always act proper. You act the way you need to act, Dave. I don't act the best business type sometimes. I'm not going to lie. But that's because I feel like I can only fire myself. You know what I mean? That's to a certain extent. I've come a long ways, but I'm just saying you are very good at just kind of saying what you need to say where no one's pissed off. They just laugh. You have a way of making people laugh what you have to say versus, and I don't mean laughing at you. I'm just saying that's a fucking funny way to put it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's looking at people's both sides of the story, both sides of the argument, let's say. It's easy to find a middle ground in any conversation. It's easy to say the thing to keep the conversation going, I guess you could say, and that goes for sales also. I don't know. Like I said, I'm hard to offend people. And honestly, if you get offended by me, you're probably just easily offended.
Yeah, man. It's although you do always have a sense of humor, even if it's bad timing, I will say, for sure. Only because, but mind you, it's a reminder, like, it's not that serious. And I'll never forget with Sean Bradley. Like, it was something where you told me, like, dude, don't dabble into that. And then sure enough, it happened. And then you gave me, which I can't find. I need you to send it to me. But the meme of him going door to door with he was Dr. Death. And it had, you're like, you probably don't think this is funny right now, but you know, once this blows over, you will. And I was pissed. I was like, Dave, that's not funny. My whole life is changing right now.
Well, you know, there's two things about that too. You know, the problem is, you know, my encouraging you not to do that was for selfish reasons, of course, and for personal reasons, which I try to leave out of all reasons now. Right. But also something that I got over with a long time ago. But also, I don't want to be an asshole. I don't see any reason in negativity. And I knew that the content that you two were going to create was going to have some kind of negative cloud that wasn't necessarily going to be beneficial, but my opinion. And that was really one thing that pushed me in that direction to say, hey, man, is it that good of an idea? Right. You know, what came out of it came out of it. You know, life goes on. We're here right now. But you know, like I said, and you know, where I say something negative there, I also say something positive. You know, some of the most interesting conversations I ever had were with Sean. Sean is a very knowledgeable guy, and to sit down and talk animals with Sean is great. You know, sometimes we just get sucked into these other conversations. I just try to avoid them nowadays.
And listen, my game plan, I've said this before, my game plan was to kind of like, I knew we were like in a bad place building up to the podcast, but I thought I would be able to like hold him down and tell him, like, look, Sean, this is my game plan. I just want to see eye to eye with you and have one of those conversations that I know he's capable of having, and just talking about venomous stuff and whatever. We could have had a great podcast, but I didn't have enough trust with him due to the fact that I was like, you know, we were going back and forth. So it was what it was. And you know, obviously I wasn't really ready for positivity if I couldn't hold back what I had to say. I mean, I let it all off. I could have still just been like, well, it's unfortunate he didn't show up and ended the podcast, but no, man, I fucking went loose. And so, you know, it is what it is. I you know, he shot me a text super randomly like about a month ago, and it was all positive, and I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. So I just responded positively back, and here we are. You know, is what it is. I have no ill harm towards him, and he doesn't towards me, and I wish him nothing but the best, and that's just how it is.
Yeah, and I respect that, because I feel the same way. And, you know, I go back to saying it, man. Like, you know, Sean is extremely knowledgeable. You know, Sean is a history lesson in the hobby. He will talk to you about anything. He will tell you everything you need to know about corn snakes, who they came from, all these obscure little genes. You know, like I said, I would love to do a conversation with Sean. I would just want to keep it about animals. You know, I've been harping this a lot lately that, you know, the animals bring in the hobby, and then people get consumed with the community and things going on around them and the negativity. And it's a real bummer. You know, any time spent on that is time spent on not learning more about something else you're passionate about. So you know, I was on that podcast the other day with Outside the Clutch, and, you know, I made that comment that when I got my new cell phone, I deleted all my screenshots, because for years I held screenshots of like, oh, this motherfucker this and that motherfucker that, and like anyone I bumped heads with, like we all do to each other. And I decided that I didn't even want that there anymore. And you know how good that felt? Like, it is gone now. I don't have to look at it. I don't have to think about it. I don't need reminders. You know, any little petty thing I've ever worried about, I just don't stress anymore. I enjoy the animal thing too much to worry about the people.
And that's what it's all about. You need a reminder too. You know, if you're too caught up into drama, relations, and all that, with you got to understand, if you're in the reptile industry, you should have animals to be proud of. You should have stuff to be concerned over versus just commenting and being a part of the drama. That's why I said, I mean, at the end of the day, I could break away and just be so happy with my animals. I'm living my best life here with these reptiles. So yeah. I don't know. How do you feel overall with the rest of the year going for you? Like, you know, is production like chilling out right now? What's going on with your season with breeding?
I mean, it's always going. We're always rotating. It's just a matter of me staying on top of things. My schedule has been, I get into these waves where I put more time into everything except for the breeding, and then I go really heavy with the breeding. Right now, I'm kind of going through the building, tidying up a couple things, reinstalling a few things. I haven't really done any pairing in a couple weeks, but in about a week, I'm going to ultrasound the whole collection again. I'm going to see who's still building, who reabsorbed, what I need to do, and I'll probably have 200 or 300 animals I'll probably be focusing on, to be honest with you.
And we're talking primarily boas or ball pythons, a little bit of both. What are we talking?
Pretty much all ball pythons right now. My boa season is about done. I hesitated to breeding boas this past year. Then after hesitating for 2 months, I decided to do it.
Right.
In return, I got a bunch of slug outs early in my year. So, here I am telling people how to do it the right way, and then I do it the wrong way. So I did, I did cut it a little bit short, but, I'm going to do an inventory list this week. I've got a lot of new males coming up in the game, so I want to really decide what I need to keep and don't want to keep. And compared to waiting the last minute on my season, I'm going to actually work on all my breeding stuff now. So come August, September, I'm going to start pairing again.
Chad Holker, what a guy.
Love Chad, buddy. Chatty daddy.
That's your buddy. So how's he doing? How's Chad doing?
Chad's always doing good, man. He's got some great pairings this year. I don't want to talk about him because I'm sure he's going to want to keep some to himself, but he got a lot of paint ball pythons over the last few years, and he's now starting to incorporate that into a lot of projects.
Dude,
love the paint stuff, man. Love the paint stuff.
Me too. And that's quite the project to have under your belt right now, because it's still yet in the closet. No pun intended. Yep. I'm just saying, it's going to be something where I can't wait to see that shit into some double recessives or just in the right morph. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. And I know he's been going double recessive with it. I know a lot of people are going double recessive with it this year. I think in 2 years, we're going to see an influx of crazy paint stuff. And I think anybody that was on the fence about working with the project's probably going to jump in at that point.
Yeah. What do you think overall ball python market wise are some wise moves to make right now? Especially if you're not too sure where you're at, and meaning is you don't know where your excitement's at. If you're even sure about some things, just kind of in limbo. What would you have advice for anyone right now in the ball python market?
Well, if you're in limbo, I probably wouldn't make any decisions. There's no reason to go a direction on a whim. It doesn't always work out in your favor. Here's the thing. I always tell people, look at what people aren't doing. Every breeder has got their ingredients. Most breeders have 2 or 3 ingredients that they just incorporate other genes into. Find your recipe, figure out what you like. It doesn't seem like Desert Ghost is going to slow down anytime soon. And I think the goal is going to be to put Desert Ghost into everything. I think there's going to be some breeders that are only going to want visual Desert Ghosts in their collection at some point.
Right.
I don't see that slowing down anytime soon. So I would say that DG seems to be pretty safe at this point. What was it? The Spot Nose Calico Sunset came out this past week.
Was it? Oh, this week?
It was 2 weeks ago. Calico, I think they did an updated picture of this.
Cypress.
Was there a I thought it was Spot Nose Calico Sunset, or did I miss a Cypress combo? Who are you talking about? I'm talking about Brock, Brad, and them.
Oh, my bad. I'm talking about Justin. Never mind. So
I missed that.
So tell me, what did you see Brock make? Was it Brock or Brad who made that?
Well, how about this? I mean, you could start maybe going on Instagram and just checking out Brad Boas. I want to say it was a Brad or Brock video, but they put a video of the animal and it's absolutely glowing. Chad Halker is not a big fan of the Sunset Project. We bumped heads on it a little bit. He enjoyed that animal. So, I kind of go back to my comment in a couple of years when we see more combos in paint, more people might want to work with it. I still think Sunset's kind of in that sphere right now where, there's a lot of people that are really on the fence about it. And I think a few really good combos is going to draw people in.
You said Sunset Calico, what? What was it again?
It was a Sunset Calico Spot Nose. It was either on Brock Wagner or Brad Boas, I want to say. One of those two guys.
Here it is. So it's a Spot Nose Sugar Sunset. Ooh, okay.
My bad. Sugar Calico, Fauna, Flora, whatever else.
Coral Glow, fucking goddamn it. Piece of shit.
Can't keep up, man. 3 names, too much.
All right, check it out. Ooh, wow, that's neat.
Yeah, it glows. And, Calico was always good for that project. I love the way those genes complemented in that animal. The sunset is still kind of pulling that pattern around a good bit because the sunset's a pattern in itself. But, I love that. And if Calico, I've always said that Calico and Hypo are two of my favorite enhancers for that project right now. I haven't seen a bad Calico and I haven't seen a bad Hypo yet. And, that's another thing too, and I'm sure someone's working on it, but we got a little bit of pushback. I think when we were talking about the DG Sunset, when we were talking to Justin, I think he said it wasn't one of his favorites.
Right.
Get a little hypo in there, man. Let's go triple recessive on there. Let's see if we can start bringing out some more color. And I think getting that hypo in there is going to completely change the glow of that animal. I think a little fire would be nice for that one. Fire has that really nice orange tone to it. And if the DG is going to bring it down to more of an orange, let's throw more things in there that are going to really accentuate the oranges.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to looking stupid after talking so much shit around Sunset. And that's okay. Like, I obviously want things to be right for any morph in the industry because it's going to prolong what we have going on. And Sunset is just so brand new still. No matter what you want to say about it, there's just so many more things that need to come into it before we can even judge it, right? It's just like you hate to see DG not being that morph to make Sunset the fucking wow factor. You know what I mean? Which is fine. It's just that's ball python stuff for you. What are you gonna do?
Yep. Hey man, it took Clown 15, 16 years to become popular. It took DG over 20 years to become popular. If Sunset takes 20 years, it takes Sunset 20 years, buddy. Shit, you could have bought paint ball pythons back in 2005, and now everybody's going hand over fist trying to get them. It just some things take time. Sometimes we just got to see what someone else creates to decide we want to do it ourselves.
How long has that been the pattern in the ball python community? That's just how it works. It's always like that, right?
Everybody sold their red stripe, and then the Pompeii came out. Everyone bought their red stripes back. So honestly, I think it's just always been the case. It's happening more now than ever before because we're now going back to old projects and reinventing them. But, I think it's just been that way forever, man.
Yeah, it's just, and what's crazy is as we are growing into the generational lines of breeding, more shit is going to just continue to pop up, and more things are going to be holy shit, why are we putting this on the shelf? Like, we need to use this right now, just a matter of time and what it's going to be.
Well, hey man, your perspective is different than mine. What ball python are you looking at buying right now? Have you been thinking about a project? Do you need another gene? Do you have some gaps to fill?
I hate to say that I got what I need, but that's not true. Like, I could always use something. Like, one thing I wish I had in the mix, in the mix where I had either hets or something to combine it with is puzzle. Like, I think puzzle is definitely something on the bright future list of things to come. Only because I've gotten the inside look of Will Moros's collection. Will up in Canada.
Of course.
Yeah. So, and everything he has up there was DG puzzle combinations. And I was like, holy shit. Like this, and I'm talking adults. Like, he had adults that just looked so beautiful. And, we're not talking a typical adult ball python that looks nothing like what it was as a baby. No, like, you kind of tell, maybe it was maybe this much better looking as a baby, but still like that snake, and it glow. I'm talking something that just glows. Like, some of these snakes, Dave, I don't need to tell you, but some of these snakes legitimately glow. Like, it's like that Rick James aura. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, the DG glow is a real thing, man. Like I said, I love Will's collection. You probably remember when we talked to Justin that one time, and he said, "Who's the next Justin?" He said, "It's William." William's working on some great stuff.
William Philippek?
No, I'm not talking about. Well, I love Philippek. I'm talking about. Were we not talking about Moreau's right now? Am I not allowed to call him William?
No, we call him Big Willie style or Will. Nobody calls him William, bro. Relax. Wow.
I'm sorry. So Will, Will, that's another good example, man. Go back to 2011 when Will got into the hobby. Not many people were working with DG. Almost nobody was working with a clown. What did he do? He bought DGs and clowns and started breeding them together over a decade ago. And now look what the industry's doing.
He disappeared for a few years too. Not only did he buy that shit, he sat on it and just held it back. Brad held it back. And then I think it was 2016, if correct me if I'm wrong, he started fucking posting shit and still being very just kind of like discreet in a way. Like Will's always just like, he's not flamboyant. Like, he's not you know, he does his shit, but he's not pushing it super hard. He's just letting things kind of just do their own thing. I mean, does that make sense?
Never really overly promoted, and honestly, the animals did the talking for him, man. You know, for years he was putting up stuff that we all wanted to see and we needed to see. And like you said, with the DG puzzle stuff, you know, even Chad hit a DG pastel puzzle male this year. Fucking crazy. Good for him. I mean, that's going to be a game changer. There's not a lot of those animals out there right now.
Is your dog okay? Fuck, dude.
Well,
rescue another one.
I mean, I can throw it out the front door.
No.
No. It clearly wants something to be different in its life. Let me put it out front. It wanders. Give me 2 seconds. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
I'm gonna feel so bad if anything happens to this dog. Like, but listen, while we're waiting, okay, and there's also something else we're waiting for. It's just supposed to be a secret, and I'm like, hello, you know, can we any day now, person? But do me a favor, guys, get the likes up. Why don't we get the likes up right now? I don't even know where they're at, but I'm pretty sure they're not where I would want them because whatever, dude. Get the likes up, please, right now, if you guys don't mind. It's a free feature. Subscribing's free as well. Notification bell, all that stuff is a free feature for you to be on top of all this amazing podcast. And Dave's back. Dave, you don't have like a busy road or anything, right? I just don't want it to go in the street or something.
No, he's honestly, he's a good dog. Like I said, we only had him for a couple weeks, but he just wanders the property. He's very smart about it. I only have one road out here, and it's about a half mile down the driveway, so I don't think we have any issues.
I'm not like a I'm not like a dog guru, but I do know that's like one of those German hunting dogs. Like that's a smart dog. And it looks like he's probably retired. He looks like he's a little old. Not too old.
Actually, he's a spring chicken, buddy. He's maybe a little over a year old. He's got baby teeth.
Really? Are you sure?
Yeah. No. There was 2 dogs originally, but no, he's the young one.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Anyways, back to ball python talk. Yay. Overall, what is one, and like I said, we can't really knock down any more, but would you say there's one overhyped morph out there right now?
Man, what a weird ass question. How about that? Have you thought about something a little overhyped in the industry right now?
Yeah, for sure.
What do you think's overhyped?
I asked you first.
Well, I know, but I don't even know if I have like one thing I want to say on that. Overhyped?
Yeah.
Fuck, man. Well, I've never been a big fan of clowns.
Wow, dude. What do you mean clowns? Clowns are so relevant, though. What do you mean?
No, they are. That's why I said it wasn't going to be a good answer, man. I don't have a problem with clown. I just joked around. I just never thought the market would survive as long as it did. And then not only did it survive, it turned into the complete market. So I don't really have any shit to talk on clowns. I should have known better. I just thought that like most other ball python things, they would hit a ceiling, and it doesn't seem like they've hit their ceiling yet. But overhyped right now, man, I don't know. Can I keep on saying clown?
If that's what you think. I mean, listen, there's people out there who are starting a collection who don't have clown. They're like, I don't want clown in the mix. I'm like, okay, respect. So listen, man, this world is full of options. You can do whatever the hell you want. This is what makes it so beautiful, you know?
How about this? Like, my definition of overhyped is maybe different, and maybe I'm looking at it the wrong way. You know, the problem is, like, we go back to talking about projects that have been around for a while and we haven't done anything with. Well, that's it. We haven't done anything with it.
See, Lauren Morales, Lauren, a.k.a. Lolo, agrees with you. I don't really get excited about clowns either. So,
really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, again, and it's maybe because I don't know, I misread the market on that one for years. But, you know, as much as I misread it, you know what the variable was? All the beautiful animals people made. You know, you can go down the list of things we've seen over the last 5-6 years in clowns that are nothing I ever thought the project could do. Let's just say that.
All right. I don't mean to hit you with these overhyped questions, but I got one more. How ridiculously overhyped is this thumbnail? Don't lie to me.
I don't think it's overhyped at all, except you put yourself on there twice.
Listen, she's the one flipping me off, though. I actually tried to do the you know, the Photoshop where the background gets deleted, but that's there, and I feel like that needs to be there for a reason. Mega Honda in the building. What's up, Megan?
Hi.
Dude, there's a fucking dog that he rescued that does not stop barking. It's fucking howling. I'm just glad you're here. How are you? I've been wanting you to come here for like fucking an hour now. What's up, dude?
I got stuck doing something. I'm sorry.
You're doing a work event? What do you mean?
Not an event, just something I got stuck doing for work.
What do you do for work?
For now, I work in a machine shop for aerospace.
Whoa, that's cool. I had no clue. What the fuck? I
No
thought
one
all you did was just be Mega Conda every day. Like I thought that's like what you. Wow. How long you been doing that for?
What?
How long you been doing that for?
My whole life. My dad owned it. He sold it recently, which is kind of why I'm busy because it's like a transition thing.
It's a family thing.
Was.
Yeah. So you don't own it no more?
My dad doesn't own it anymore, so no, I never owned it myself.
Why didn't you want to own it?
He didn't give me a chance. He didn't tell me he was selling it.
Oh shit! He said.
He literally told me like 3 days before the new owners took over.
Damn.
In like a 20-second conversation while I washed my car. He goes, "Hey, I sold the company. They come in Monday," and like that was kind of it.
Damn. Are they doing like a whole makeover? Like, is it one of those kind of like things where somebody takes over and just starts firing people and doing what they want? I'm just curious. I've seen shit like that go down. So
they didn't fire anyone really. It's a bigger company that bought it, so they're kind of just implementing all of their stuff. Like they're making everything digitalized, and which we were more like paper copies, hard copy because we were small. So
wow,
it is what it is.
It is what it is. What an era. I would say it's kind of cool that you even have that kind of experience under your belt.
Yeah, but not a lot of people know what I actually do in my day-to-day, so.
Man, Megan was supposed to be on the show Tuesday. Didn't work out, but she didn't want to be on the show with just me anyway, so it worked out because now Dave's here. And here we have...
Look.
Oh, I love it. Thank you. I would have wore your shirt too. I don't know what I was thinking.
But yeah, listen, I'm glad you're here, Megan. How's things been? I mean, you're in a crazy part of your life, obviously, with not only what your dad told you probably, but you know, you're engaged. Your wedding is just around the corner, I want to say. So how's life been? What's going on?
Life's been crazy, busy. A lot going on. So
keeping up okay? Animals are doing good. Like what's going on with your breeding? Like any of that stuff. Let's catch us up with that.
Breeding wise, I have one normal green gravid right now. That's kind of it. Everything else is good. Just, you know, maintaining everything as you should. So, yeah.
Now, one thing I know for sure, Megan, you sold an anaconda in Anaheim, right?
Yes.
And were you expecting to sell any big snakes at Anaheim at all?
Not really. I mean, I sold more than just that, but I had just the anacondas and the retics on my table.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was exciting too because I sold 2 Superdwarf for ticks, you know, just for ticks, you know, and I was like, what? That's cool that happened. But overall, how'd you feel about Anaheim?
I hate the parking situation. It's horrible for vendors. But
keeping it real,
the show turned out okay.
My arms almost fell off. I'm not gonna lie because I went ahead and I didn't know where the fuck to go. I mean, I know it was in a different hall from the year before, but I thought I could carry all this shit from the goddamn valet parking to the my arm almost fell off. So yeah, I need to get one of those pulling carts and shit like that for sure. But I guess we gotta do our homework before we go and shit like that, kind of figure things out. You normally like to set up, you go there Friday to set up, right?
Well, yeah, because I mean most shows that I do are near me. So I can just go home at the end of the day.
And you always drive back home, right? You don't stay at the hotel. Yeah.
I live like 30 minutes from the Pomona and Anaheim. So like why stay?
Yeah. So I'll be at Pomona August, but I won't be staying. This time I'll be driving home for sure, just because I have a newborn. So I want to just rather be home. Dave, are you going to be able to go to Pomona?
You know what? Romney actually reached out to me with a text the other day. I didn't reply yet. I'm going to look. It's going to be tough, man. That's Daytona's that month also. Ooh. I don't know if I can do a Pomona and Daytona in the same month.
Why? Stay at my house.
It's not that. I mean, it's first off, it's a lot on the animals. It's a lot of cost on travel. I can maybe take a weekend off. I might come out and vend it. I got no one to drive 28 hours with me. So that in itself, I don't know if I want to drive 28 hours to a show right now.
Let's buy him a plane ticket. Like this guy needs it. How about do that and ship your FedEx? Ship FedEx either me or Megan, whatever. But I'm
closer. You're way too far.
Dude, first and foremost, San Diego's beautiful. So flying to San Diego so I could take you home, hang out with somebody that you like. Not that you don't like Megan. I'm just saying.
No, I'm Dave's favorite person besides his girlfriend.
Dave could leave from up there, but let him come into San Diego and I'll take him up there. Dude, you're not being fair. You're not being fair right now.
I'm being very fair.
I'll let Dave's his own man. So
Dave is my hoe. Not yours.
I'm just gonna see which one of you guys has the most to offer, and I'll go that route. How about that?
Hey, I'm not gonna lie, man. Filet mignon and lobster at her wedding. I'm just looking forward to that.
But I meant more emotionally, but I'll take the filet mignon.
I can't top that, man. I'm looking forward to that. Now you're gonna be moving to Chicago at some point.
Yeah.
You scared about that?
No, why would I be?
I mean, because your animals will stay home, or are you taking all your animals? That's why I'm
Taking
thinking.
them
Like,
with me.
okay, so isn't that scary? You're not scared to travel animals all the way to, and mind you, how seasoned are those animals in your collection? They've been there their whole lives.
Not all of them.
The ones that are like the most important. The anaconda, your big girl, the one that's grabbed. Isn't that the main hoe that you have?
Yeah, puppy. She's
Puppy,
not gravid.
She's not.
But everything's kind of. The one I have is due before I move, so she'll be fine.
And last year you didn't have a litter. Or you did have one litter last year.
I give everything a year off. Usually I like kind of rotate everything, so like it's one because they breed every 2 years.
Right.
So I'll usually have one female go every year, but I just kind of gave everything a year off.
Dave, if you don't mind, I really want to kind of dive deep with Megan here as far as like how she gets ready to pair her anacondas and whatnot. I'm just so curious, like if it's food cycling for you too and whatnot. So how do we talk? Let's talk about like you getting ready to pair and how that goes and whatnot with anacondas.
Me? I start with like a heat cycle.
Ooh, tell me more.
So you drop the females, you drop their heat before you do any introductions.
Ooh.
So that kind of gets them in a cycle. I do like bump up their feeding, but not as much as you would think. Like I do give them like every 2 weeks instead of every like once a month for the adults. But they get bigger meals around that time.
And what do you have them on, pigs or what do they eat?
Pigs, it depends. I have one that won't eat pigs, so she gets rabbits, and then everything else will take pigs.
And we're talking like once a month, or how often are these eating?
My adults eat about once a month when they're, not getting ready for breeding.
And the males are eating too, just same schedule. Nothing switches, right?
Right. Nothing really switches.
Now, how do you like to keep your males? There's all this talk about keeping them slim, and with almost any kind of species of snakes, they say you don't want your male to be too big. But is that the case with anacondas? Or
I mean, my biggest male is 12 feet.
It's big.
Yeah, my biggest female is 14.
Damn.
But compared to it, he's like this big, where the female's like this big.
Yeah.
So there's a huge difference. But my males some of them tend to go off food during breeding season, so you kind of want them to be bulked up in case they do that. So
yeah, right. And now with you, Dave, with your boas, right? I mean, you like to. I know you keep them on mice for the first year of their life, right? Boas, from what I understand. and then go ahead.
Oh no, yeah, I like mice the first year, and then I'll switch to a wrap pup the second year, and then after that, I kind of change it up depending on the animal and the project.
So for the most part, your breeder boas are eating what? Your adult male breeder boas.
Medium-sized rats are the biggest. I've got a couple big ones that do large, but most of my males stay on like a small to medium-sized rat. I don't push them too hard. But I also told you my females aren't as big as they used to be. I'm much smaller in my females, almost half the size of what I used to. With that being said, I don't need big males. It actually looks weird to have a big male with these little females.
Do you have an ultrasound, Megan?
No.
So are there certain behavioral things that your females do that kind of make you kind of like say, okay, this is when I want to pair them? Or is it just at the timing of year that you just stick to?
Most of the time in the year, I mean, you do kind of notice some changes where the female will hug the cold side a lot more.
Mm.
It all depends on the female too, because I have some females that go like clockwork every like couple of years, whatever it is, and then I have some females that will go in July, or another ones that'll go in like the fall. So it kind of just depends on them. But I do have a couple that are just like every single time they breed, it's going to be clockwork, and they usually drop right around the same day every single time.
What's the name of the girl that is gravid right now?
Mama. She's
Mama.
She was like the first one to breed for me, so she ended up just getting that name by chance.
Real original with the names, Megan. I love it. I gotta say, did she already ovulate?
Oh yeah, she's due December 2nd.
Wow.
So that's yeah. I'm supposed to move before then, but
yeah. So that might be a problem.
Maybe.
I hope it's not, obviously, but I want to kind of go back to what you do differently when she ovulates, if anything? Do you spike the heat up at all, or is it just she has her hot spot still and that's where she goes and hangs out afterwards?
So during the day, the hot spot's always at like, 88, 89, and I drop them at night. So when they ovulate, usually it's still around the hot side, but when you can kind of tell because the male will just completely leave the females alone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I kind of, stop the heat cycle. And so she usually will ovulate around then. But with anacondas, it's hard to catch an ovulation because they're so like thick.
So big already. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very hard to catch them. I've seen like maybe 3 the whole time I've been breeding.
So how many it's hard to say obviously how many babies she'll give you, but what are you shooting for, you think?
So this female, the last time she dropped, she gave me 31. So
31.
She's pretty big. She's 13 feet. She's huge. Like, she's also really thick right now. So she's just big.
Did you have any problems getting rid of those? Sorry, Dave. I got you.
No. I mean, I don't mind holding on to babies because I'm picky about who I sell to. So
yeah. Just like you don't think 31's a lot, but 31's a lot. Like, that's a lot.
It is.
Yeah. And I only know that because I hatched out 39 Superdor for ticks with Eric Lee, and thank God he took half those. But still, I was like, "Fuck, this is a lot." You know what I mean? Like,
what's funny is Andrew. Last time, it's been over a year since Andrew bred his reticks, but the last female he had dropped 62 eggs.
Oh my Lanta!
All of them hatched.
Did he keep? Go ahead, Dave.
Oh no, and I was just so litter sizes. She's talking 31 with this girl. When that girl was a virgin, what did she give you?
Her first time, she gave me 5.
Yeah, and how big was she when she bred the first time?
About 9 feet.
And that's what, about a 30-pound animal? 40?
60 for a female.
60. So with that species, we've talked about in the past, where you're getting big litters now, that's because it was a buildup over years. They don't just start with big litters. It doesn't matter the size of the animal.
Yeah, I've had a 13-foot, first-time mom drop just 10 the first time. And she's still one of my biggest ones to this day.
Nice. And that one female that Ben had, that what we're saying an aneurystic female, the big one,
yeah,
she was what, 12 or 13 when she bred for the first time, and she's one of the biggest ones you have, right?
Yeah, and she only gave me like 8.
Yeah, which is crazy, right?
Yeah.
I want to say good job on you posting some of your funniest fucking videos that you have just recording yourself in your room. I don't know if it's the timing, but some of this shit is just so classic. But dude, shit could go down though too. Let's be honest. Like, some of that shit is scary. Like, you know what I mean? And obviously you've done this a long time, so I feel like you always know that. But I mean, what was your closest call, Megan? I have to ask you. Like, what was the closest call where maybe you've ever gotten wrapped by a bigger girl, or if that's ever even happened? I'm just curious.
I've never been wrapped, not by anything. Well, I shouldn't say that. I had a 9-foot berm wrap my hand because it like missed the hook completely and just came further than my hook. But that was just my hand. I wouldn't say the scariest, but the most annoying was like the double het female came out of her cage because she's an asshole. So she kind of comes up under the paper, like she legit like wants to bite you. She had a hold of my thigh one time, but she ripped my jeans. She left a big bruise on my leg. So she just hit me. She didn't put a couple holes in me, but that was kind of it.
And I mean, Dave, I can only imagine. I mean, because I know I've seen some of my adult boas fucking tag like when there's food around and shit like that, they kind of go like, whoa, like spaz a little bit. But I can only imagine an anaconda adult probably packs a fucking savage punch, you would say, right? Like if you were to get like tagged, like the way you would get tagged by a boa, like that has to hurt, I would think.
Oh, I'm sure. Sorry, yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I've been hit by big boas before, but I've got lightning fast reflexes, buddy. I am jumping out of the way the moment anything's going wrong, and I don't care how small the animal is. So, I don't want to ruin the conversation, but I don't get bit that often. Like I don't want to.
No, so Marshall Mendez, man, shout out to Marshall Mendez. He's been in this game for I don't know how many years. I can't say he's never been bit, but it's like he is professional at not getting bit. And some people are so like, I'm not getting bit. So they purposely game plan everything that they're doing to avoid getting bit. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I mean, getting bit, depending what you have, it's not going to kill you. It just sucks sometimes. Sometimes you ain't got time to bleed. You know what I mean?
No, I've taken that inner thigh shot, and that's the closest I ever got to being really, truly scared. And honestly, it was my fault. I opened up a container with a hook. As I turned my head, I looked back, and it was on my thigh. Somebody was in the building to help out, luckily, but it was one of my bigger girls, and fuck me, did that not hurt.
I got urates from a scrub in my mouth, unfortunately.
Ooh, good for you, buddy.
It was terrible. No, not good for me. It was terrible. I was dry heaving. It was like 5:30 in the morning. It was really bad. It was just really like, and of course, I'm thinking I'm having the best time of my life. You know, she's a real docile animal, but she's one of those things that just where, fuck it, this is my time to go. And of course, it was she was around my neck, and as I'm letting her go back in the enclosure, and I'm like, what a beautiful snake. And as the tail goes up, oh, it was so bad, bro. I was so mad, so mad. But I'm here. I'm alive. I just thought you could die from that. Maybe, I don't know. This is disgusting. I didn't know. Have you had anything remotely disgusting like that happen to you yet, Dave? I'm sure it had. Has to. Come on.
Oh, we taking turns. Megan, you want to go first, and then I'll go second, and we'll go with our disgusting things.
Let's do a nasty story on something like that, please, so I can feel better.
Okay. Well, a couple weeks ago, I was cleaning nasty water bowls, and I slipped in. Okay.
I remember
I slipped on oil that was on the ground and dumped the entire bowl,
everywhere.
like basically on my head, everywhere. There's a video. I posted it on my just my personal page. But yeah, that's probably the grossest thing that's happened. It was everywhere. I was like, I'm done today.
I remember I was like, what is she complaining about? Like, she didn't fall that hard, but when you're like, no, it's what I had in the fucking thing.
Yeah, it's that, and then like everything that happened prior to that during the day, because that day was just a complete shit show for me, and like that was like the last straw. I was like, I'm done today. Like, I'm cleaning this bowl and I'm going to bed.
Yeah, there's certain things that just like you kind of see like back to back things that where you're just like, man, today just isn't my day. And so you got to take it for what it is, but you just can't really beat yourself up over it. Sometimes you just got to say, fuck it. You know, maybe I'm not going to, I don't know. But then again, you got big snakes that need to be cleaned. Fuck you. You don't got a choice.
It wasn't even a big snake bowl. It was like just like a juvenile's bowl. And it was just nasty. Because anacondas love to shit in their bowl. That's like their favorite spot.
Yeah.
So I have to clean bowls every single day.
It's kind of nice, though. They're doing you a favor, man. Less worry about cleanup.
I mean, usually, like, you know, one thing I love, my favorite are the complete sheds with the shit in the shed. Like that's like a 3-pointer for me. I'm like, oh, thank you so much for making this so easy. Sometimes it's so perfect, I don't even need to change the paper. I'm like, fucking perfect. You know what I mean? The water one's second best because it's not that bad either. It's, you know, if the paper's completely fine.
It's not bad until they're big snakes.
It changes everything. When they're big, it changes everything. And you know, for anyone out there just wondering what this was like for Megan.
Oh God.
We're just gonna watch this real quick. Hold on. Let me expand this. Oh, hold on.
I missed the best part of it.
Hold on. I'm gonna rewind
it.
Come on, what just happened? Hold on. There we go. Hold on. All right, here we go. Feast your eyes. Megan's Day.
I really screwed up my ankle and my knee.
That does look like it hurt. I want to watch that one more time. Hold on. Oh, yeah, dude. You landed straight on your knee first.
Mm-hmm.
Ow.
It was swollen for a couple days after that.
One more time.
No.
Last one. Okay, hold on. One more time, but look how brown the water is when it flashes out. Like, hold on. Watch that shit. It's completely brown. Oh, my God. It looks like you're changing oil. Dude. Poor Megan. Oh.
That water was fresh like the day before, too, by the way.
Dude, this is why I get so ham on fucking water changes. Because, like, you know how disgusting that water gets? That could get within that next day? Like, there's no, like, scheduled anything with big snakes. You got to do that shit when you need to do them, you know?
Exactly.
Megan, you've been in the industry for a while. So what do you think of Bob Clark?
I mean, he's, you know, been around forever. He started so many different morphs of different snakes. So it's just like, there's a lot going on there.
I'm only mentioning him because we're talking about how much work comes with big snakes. And, you know, I had him on the show yesterday, which comes out Tuesday to the public. And he walked around his facility. He showed all, because I'm like, hey, how uncommon is it to have a 20-foot retic in your collection? And he's like, oh, you want to go see some? I'm like, sure. And he was like, this is 21 foot. This is 20. I'm like, holy shit. And these things were, say what you want, they're just fucking massive. I'm like, whoa. But everything looked clean, dude. I mean, he has a crew of 4 people, and I just give props to someone who's willing to get up and just say, fuck it, here, I'm gonna take my phone inside the facility, and showed, I don't know, I forget the number, a lot of retics, like a lot. I'm talking aisles of Neodesha cages full of retics. Any of you guys ever have those cages, by the way? It's an old school cage, but any of you guys ever keep those cages?
No.
I haven't. I admire them. I think Sean with Herps just posted a whole rack for sale with those old school cages on it. Venomous guys love them. I know a lot of venomous guys that really say it's one of the better cages to keep venomous in.
I'm just wondering why a cage like that didn't stick around and like take off, because I think the whole like outline of that cage is cool, because how like the way it's slanted and it gives it natural, you know, lighting and whatnot. I just thought that was, how come something like that didn't continue?
It needed its own rack system that was custom just to set the cages on. I think Vision came out with their stackable gray ones around that time, and they were very reasonably priced back then. So I think there was a few factors. Also, there wasn't really PVC cages when those first came out. So, you know, they were kind of pioneers in the industry. They were early on, and just, I hate to say it, better things came out.
Okay, we're talking about OG cages, and I do love Megan's cages because they are definitely OG in a sense, right, Megan? Like these things are right here you've had for since the beginning, or
I bought them used, and I kind of hate them.
But these are old school though, right?
Yeah, so on the left they're of that picture.
Yeah.
Whatever. They're Boa Masters, and I've had them maybe 10 years now, but I got them used, and they're already kind of warping, and I got them for a good deal of time because I needed big cages. But all the ones on the other side, I built myself.
So, and do you feel like these are going to be okay to travel? Like, they'll make it to the next room that you're going to have them in, or maybe you're going to upgrade some of your enclosures? You think?
I'm upgrading a lot of myself. Everything I built, I'm taking with me.
Okay.
So
all the older shit's gone.
Yeah, all the older stuff's gone. So I have actually cages on order right now. So
from who?
AP.
Oh, Animal Plastics.
Yeah.
It's going to wait a year and a half, huh?
Not really.
I just hear that you got to wait. Like there's like, I'm talking like 7-8 months wait. From what I heard.
So the ones you saw my setup at the last Tinley show. I only waited like maybe 2 months for those. But they're also right in Indiana, so they're really close to Andrew. So like delivery is kind of easy. Like, we can go pick them up if we wanted to. It's that close.
They're in Iowa.
Iowa? I don't know.
Yeah, I've been there before. It's Iowa.
Is it Iowa? I don't know. They're relatively close, but it's like within 4 hours of Andrew.
Not terrible. And I know they got a second CNC machine to try to keep up with production. So where about a year ago, their times might have been a little longer. I think with 2 machines now, they're keeping up a little better.
Megan, what's going on with the albino anaconda? I'm curious if because I know you've had holdbacks from that clutch you had years back, and if there's any, I'm just wondering when the chances are of ever those being made again. Like, where are we at with that?
I'm not really sure. She didn't want to breed this year, so we'll see about next year. And
let me ask you what, like, first and foremost, how long do you go until you write it off? Like what for? Like, because like, you know, where we're from, Megan, there's things that could go late. Obviously, I mean, from what I've seen, stuff that bred and maybe pythons I could really speak to. I don't know how it is with boas, but I noticed that some of my pythons go later from the year before. So, I know that there could be a possibility that you pull the snake too soon, and I'm just wondering what you do with this situation where you feel like, okay, I'm seeing this to know that she's not going to go for me this year. Like, what are signs that you're looking for?
It all depends. So like, she has always been consistent with like breeding. So like when Ben bred her to when like the last time I bred her, like she's very consistent on when she goes. So you kind of just have to figure out when you want to start your introductions and start your heat cycle. So I just kind of base it off of that. And if she doesn't want to breed when like I think she was, I'll continue to like try and introduce the male throughout the year. But it all depends on like how each one of them are acting, like all this other stuff.
Right. And courting for you, for the most part, I mean, especially if the male's experienced, who either kind of mess with her for a little bit, or do they go straight to it from what you experience?
The males, as soon as you introduce them, you know how like, okay, you know how retics are. They kind of do that arching thing.
Right.
So anacondas will do the same thing, but they're not as They're not aggressive.
Not as drastic. They're not as like because a retic is like, what are you doing? Like it's kind of wow. Dave. I feel bad, man, because I don't know if you remember. Did you watch that Canova episode we did about the DG testing? Did you ever watch that one? Okay, so let's dude, how embarrassing, but luckily it worked out. But we have Summer, who's very PC and just really just innocent, right? And Justin Kabelka on the show, and then we have Dave, who's talking, and basically just like this, the dog comes, knocks the camera, and it shows a big stuffed dildo. And it's like stuck there. It's like the camera's stuck on it. I'm like, Dave, what are you doing? He's like, oh, no, nothing to see. And I'm like,
but that's such a Dave. There goes the cat. There's such a Dave thing to do. That was the werewolf cat, by the way. That was Charlie. He
has 3 dogs, and 2 of them are rescues from that just showed up on his property.
And they're getting a 4th dog in like a couple weeks, which is a puppy. Man. I talk to them like every day, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I know what's going on.
What's going on with the hobby and you when it comes to you wanting to sell big snakes right now? Because obviously there's a lot of, exposing and shit like that. The big, I don't want to say anacondas, obviously you're in your own market, but the retic world, obviously there's been a lot of drama of exposing neglect. Just curious on how you feel about that. And do you feel like that has any kind of damage to the big snake market at all?
I mean, obviously it does, but it also I feel like we do need to weed out the bad people in the hobby, which obviously we've known about that whole situation. If you've been around a while, no one's ever liked him. So it is what it is with there. But stuff like that needed to be exposed but it does look bad on just big snake keepers in general, because everyone kind of will associate all of us like that when we're not.
Right. But let me ask you this, and not that you don't love retics as much as anacondas, but if that was like a room full of anacondas neglected, would that make you feel some type of different way, or do you feel like it's like the retic still made you that upset? I'm just curious.
I mean, it still made me that upset because you don't want an animal to be suffering of any kind.
Right.
So it sucks. But everyone who's been in the hobby for a while has known that's been a situation, but I don't think we knew how bad it was until the pictures came out.
Yeah. So. Dave, is somebody ransacking your house, or is there a robbery? Is everything okay?
Yeah, so Bree's over at Mike and Cheryl's because they're out of town helping out, and I had to feed the dogs. They'd stop barking, and that's what 3 dogs feeding sounds like. I'll be honest, it's just a complete shit show tonight. I'm so sorry.
It's actually not that bad. It's Dave. What else do you expect? At least not a stuffed dildo this time.
Yeah, these aren't the ambience I was looking for. I'd rather have that dildo right now, to be honest with you.
Megan, hold on. I had an important question regarding breeding with Megan. Breeding anacondas. Megan, the whole and a female shutting off food after she ovulates, is that something that is more likely to happen with anacondas, or do they continue to eat?
Some will continue to eat, and that's when you want to give them very small meals because, it could cause issues later on. Right. But others will go off food. But most of the time they'll go off food within the first couple months. Even if they continue to eat, by month 6, they're off food.
And if they are eating these small meals, there's a certain point where you want to stop feeding them, right? Isn't there within that last 30 days or something of them?
I mean, I stop them because they can go up to 100, almost 200 days. The longest I've had an anaconda hold out is 198 days from a shed, not even an ovulation, from a shed.
Wow.
Jesus.
Yeah. So average is about 180 days. So I'll stop them if they're continuing to eat, I'll stop them 3 months before their due date. So they're pregnant for 9 months, or gravid, what are you going to call it?
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but when you're talking about getting to 190 days, if your temperature is off by 1 degree, that 180 days, it could easily push it to probably 190, 200 days. Am I wrong?
No, that's accurate. I mean, it all depends.
And what are you cooking them at? What temps?
So their hot spot sits about 88, 89, and their cool side is usually between 78 and 80.
What? Is there anything in the community when it comes to breeding them with the sperm plugs that males leave behind? Oh my god! Stopped it. Yeah, with sperm plugs. I mean, males are stick in sperm plugs. You know what I'm talking about with anacondas, that big, thick, sludgy piece of cum. I mean, is that common still? I mean, do you see that in captive breeding? Because I know you're doing a couple males per female.
Yeah, I mean, I have one male that loves to breed his water bowl. So you'll find it in the water bowl all the time. Even when he's in with the female, he'll drop it in the water bowl.
With anaconda breeding, though, I mean, how long does it take for that plug to dissolve? Like, if an animal's putting that plug in her, the next time you go to breed, is that still creating a blockage, or are you good to go?
You should be good to go. I mean, I've never really experienced it with, like, them retaining stuff.
Okay.
Not like,
you get any slug outs?
I have had slug outs.
Okay. You think, did you breed the shit out of her and she's still slug out?
Usually it's first-time females, who I've only had to slug out, but they still end up giving me some babies. So, like, the first one I got, first time ever breeding for a couple females, I got 5 out of 1, and the rest were slugs. I had another one drop 3, and then 27 slugs. But that was Puppy, her first time. She dropped 27 slugs and 3 babies.
Do you think if you were able to get one of those sperm plugs early, Blake Wilson would eat it for money?
I could probably go dig one out of a water bowl just from the male's cage.
Gotta be fresher than that, buddy.
Oh man, freeze it.
That's
I
fine.
know, right?
I'm sure he'd eat it. It's Blake. What do you expect?
I'm curious, Megan, have you ever had an issue with the moms eating the babies?
Yes.
Ooh, let's
The
hear about that.
albino loves to eat her babies.
Oh, great. Did she eat any albinos?
I walked in on her eating one.
Oh my
That's how I
god.
found it.
Were you pissed?
Oh, I got it out of her mouth.
Oh, it was alive still?
Oh, it was alive. Yeah, no.
Whoa! It just started to just swallow. That's a big snake eating a small snake, though. How the
She
fuck?
had 2 in her mouth at a time.
Dude, that is gnarly. And that's just something natural. Like, what would make a mom snake do that? I'm just curious.
So with anacondas, they're known to go back and eat the stillborns and the slugs. They're also known to be a little bit cannibalistic.
No.
Like, females will eat males, so you do have to watch them when you do introductions and stuff, especially if the male is a lot smaller. But them eating babies is kind of rare. That one is she's kind of dumb. She's special. So she eats the live ones too. So I have a camera. I just put a camera in there because, or not hers, but like the, other females. I put cameras in there when they're close to being due, and so I can watch and like make sure they don't eat the babies and then grab them as soon as possible.
You're never worried about her taking out a male, though?
No, the males are too big for her.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I might have missed the first part, but have you ever heard of a male getting cannibalized during breeding?
Oh yeah, I've heard of it a lot. I've had people ask me questions like, "Hey, what happened?" I was like, "They're cannibals."
Yeah,
they can be.
Right. And aren't there cases of like monitors eating each other too? Like, right? And correct me if I'm wrong. I think Blake Wilson had, I forget the species of monitor, but he showed a picture of, I think, the male and the female's mouth. Like, just all you see is the tail, and he's like, "God damn it!" And I'm like, "Holy shit!" And the female just ate the male.
Yeah, it happens. I mean, I've seen that with ball pythons before.
What?
Not my own, but I've seen it on the internet.
I've seen babies eat each other.
Yeah, like stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it happens.
Yeah. Holy shit. Monitors. Speaking of monitors, you have a black dragon, right? Just one?
Yes. I have one black dragon and one normal water monitor.
Where'd those come from?
I'd rather not say one, but the normal I got from just a show like 15 years ago, and I've had it ever since.
It's a male or female?
Both are females.
And they're pretty big, I'm assuming.
Yeah, 6 and 5 feet.
And what do you keep them in?
8 by 4 by 4. But I built the cages, and so the water bowl is their pond thing isn't in the cage. I have cut a doggy door on the side of it, so it's like an extension. And water is on wheels. I can roll out and clean it, and I slip the doggy door in. So they have the 8 by 4 by 4 completely to themselves, and the water is detachable.
Are you gonna have something like that in Chicago?
Yeah,
that's tight, dude. You're a very handy girl, man. I'm not even that handy. I mean that's one thing that takes you very far in this fucking reptile world is when you can do shit like that. I feel like. Sorry. Gotta say that. What are you say, Dave?
Well, nothing. Just Mike with Mike's monitors. You know, I've always loved what he does with the showers, and he'll turn them into a monitor cage. You know, I've always wanted to try to think of some kind of cage like that for green anaconda, something with the plugs so you could drain all the water out. So I just give them a little more space to be submerged if they want to be submerged.
Yeah, I would love for Uncle Mike to come out here and fucking whip me up a goddamn sick ass enclosure. Yeah, and also I don't know how much you've seen of Brian Waterloo. You know Brian Waterloo's guys, both of you. Any of you guys heard of Brian Waterloo?
I've heard of him.
Big lace monitor breeder, but man, I've been to his place, and you know, I think Uncle Mike uses the Zoopoxy like to like form his shit, and Waterloo uses something more of a concrete mix, but I forget the type of concrete mix. But the way they're able just to make these shelves and these ledges that look like goddamn real rock, I want that so bad, like so fucking bad. It just looks so cool. It also looks like you have to be a crazy artist to do it. I don't know, overthinking it maybe, but just DIY. DIY is take you very far in this game for sure.
Yeah.
How you feel, Dave?
I don't know. I'm feeling the way I always feel, man. You know what I mean? I'm always in my own little world over here. Well, how about this? So what kind of information have people given you over the years in green anaconda breeding that was the complete opposite of what you should do? You don't have to call it the breeder. That's fine.
Oh, you can too if you want.
I don't know, because like I got a lot of information when I started breeding from Ben Rennick, obviously. So like a lot of that was good information, and a lot of other stuff that I've learned is just by trial and error of my own animals, which is how I've kind of been pretty successful at it, I guess. Right. I don't really know any bad information people have told me. People told me to wait until my snakes are 15 feet before I breed them, but I was like, they're gonna be like halfway through their life at that point, because like my biggest girl is 15 years old and 14 feet long. If you push an animal, especially with anacondas, to get huge quickly, it's going to kill them because their metabolism is very slow. So you don't want to push them at all to make them huge. So,
and you feel like a lot of people make that mistake, Megan?
Trying to push anacondas? Yeah. Oh yeah. I've seen it too many times.
Okay. So that market has been pretty steady, and you know the Lacey Act really kind of helped you guys out at you know, not being able to import these in the country anymore. Once they're gone, exporting them. It's been pretty consistent for you the last 5-6 years. Have you noticed it slowing down at all lately, or is the supply supplying the demand?
It's slowed down the last year just because everything has slowed down, I think. But I also haven't had a lot to sell last year because I didn't breed last year. I mean, I still had babies left over, obviously, but like, again, I'm picky with who I sell to, so I don't just sell to anyone who has the money. I kind of want you to be experienced, and like, we don't want another, like, you know, animal abuse situation. So
right,
I make sure you're prepared to what you're getting to, which is why I bring my big one to the show. Because like people always ask like, how big do these things get? And I was like, this big. So you get like a perspective of it.
Yeah, so. Bob Clark said something about like back in the day when you could even get your hands on a big snake. Back then, you would assume that person understands that responsibility, what you're about to get. You know what I mean? Like, okay, you're about to buy a fucking big snake. You know that, right? And I feel like that just kind of goes over people's head nowadays. Like, it's kind of like, well, let me find, oh, this looks cool. Let me do it. You know what I mean? I'm actually a victim of one of those. Not a victim. I victimized myself. But I had 12 mainlands where for my standard, were kept way too small. And it became like, could have been a problem. But luckily, I moved quick enough where it wasn't. But I'm curious on how now you ask questions to people at the shows. Like, if you didn't know who the fuck I was and I just walked up to your show and I'm like, oh, I want to buy all your anacondas on this booth, like, well, I'm just curious what we would say and whatnot.
I'd ask you if you have other snakes or like what kind of snakes you have and like everything like that. If you have big snake experience, or like if you're a first time snake owner, just in general, like you're not buying a snake from me. All I sell are big snakes, so that's not happening.
What if I had all this money though? All this money, and I was rich. I had chains.
I don't care.
You know?
I want what's best for the animal. And I don't, like I said, I don't mind holding on to them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an important thing too. Is like you guys, anyone out there breeding, whatever the fuck they're breeding, you got to be willing to hold on to it if you need to, you know. And one thing that I tried, like I almost felt like, oh, I'm about to go in on this, but I'm like, oh my god, I guess this is part of breeding, I guess. But how do you guys feel about? Okay, I need to go for this one reticulated python project, or I want to hit this one reticulated morph, right? And even though I could get 65 fucking eggs, maybe only 2 or 3 or 4 at most hit that morph that I want, I'll just kill the rest off. I mean, that is that, and meaning like, you know, I forgot who it was who broke that down to me, and I was like, what? You do that? And he's like, yeah, and then it's monitor food. Like I actually put him down and I put him in the freezer and feed him off to my monitors. But is that a good thing to do? I'm curious.
I mean, if it's like, I'm gonna say yes and no. If it's like an overstock of stuff that you just like can't sell or like whatever, like it's gonna, if you just try and sell it to anyone at a cheap price, it's not gonna go to a good home.
Oh, that's a fact.
Put it that way. So turning it into monitor food, I mean, at least one animal is benefiting from it, you know. You kind of have to look, like the monitor is getting a meal.
And yeah, I mean, and it's kind of like, you know, I mean, shit, we produce rodents to the point where we have these number of rodents to feed our snakes. And if this, and mind you, like snakes eat snakes, like that's a common thing, right? Mm-hmm. And one thing I'm kind of big on now is like not just having one source of a diet, like not just feeding rat. Like if you could kind of switch it up, I think that would be kind of beneficial to any lifespan of a reptile, you would think, right?
Right. I mean, I wouldn't say breed just to try and get one thing and like, you know, fuck the rest. Right. You know, obviously try and like give things a good home or let them go to a good home. But I mean, I don't know. It's like with big snakes, it's different because like there's such like an overstock of stuff sometimes that like no one's ever gonna like buy or whatever. It's like, yeah, you mean you don't want them going somewhere shitty, so monitor food or other snakes. I don't see anything wrong with it, but I wouldn't say breed just to like get one thing and like get rid of the rest, you know.
And then it also dawned on me too, and I'm not getting into specifics because I don't want to fuck with this guy, but one guy who got he got Darianed, he got booted off Morph Market, right? And
which one was this?
I'm not telling you who it is, but it was somebody who got, and maybe once I keep talking, you can put the connections together. And if you can, God bless you. But I ain't going to say this guy's name. I don't want to fuck with this guy. But
in Texas?
Yes.
Okay, I know who you're talking about. Yeah, everyone knows that name.
Right. Anyway. So this guy, he's like, I don't know if it was an adult, but it was like a pretty fucking, it was a reticulated python. And he sold it for $50 just to like, and I'm thinking like, you know what? It is probably a lot more wiser to put down overstock and maybe feed it off than to just give it to some fucking hillbilly or some who God knows who in a trailer with something where like they're probably gonna let it go if they can't take care of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the reality. That's kind of where we're at with things. Like, so that's why I was kind of like, I held in my head, luckily as I was letting it process, I was like, well, it's probably a smart thing at this case. I would never want to do that. Like, I mean, everything I breed for sure, fuck it, I'll keep it or I'll figure it out. But and you know, but I just can never do that. I'm too much of a wimp. I can't do that. Dave, could you do that?
I don't know, man. I mean, this is a weird ethical conversation right now.
Why is it weird? Why is it? Oh, because the title is weird. So now you're right. I guess you're right. It needs to be weird. You're right.
Well, let's think about it. I mean, we're pretty much talking on both sides of our mouth here. It's like, I want to be responsible, so I'm going to produce an animal I don't want to sell to somebody, but I'm going to produce this animal, and the responsible thing to do is kill it.
That don't make sense.
So yeah, I think that's kind of a tough one. I think going into any season, if you're going to outproduce what you think you can handle, and it comes down to that, you're probably running whatever business you think you have in front of you wrong. I do know that back in the day, there were circumstances similar in different colubrid groups where I had heard of certain colubrid guys overproducing and then putting animals down because of it. I mean, there was some people, you can go back to like the Laciacs when that kicked in. I heard of a lot of people putting their collections down because they didn't think there was anything to do with these big constrictors anymore. Now, in that circumstance, maybe that was the right thing to do if they knew there was nowhere else they can go. But I don't know, man. That's a tough thing for this industry. This is the pet industry. This isn't the farming industry. I like to make comparisons to farming when it comes to certain things that'll make the industry better, but ethically, I don't know, man. No one's gonna be happy about this conversation. I think people need to be responsible off the bat and just not make something if they can't take care of it and not want to sell it.
That's why I was saying, don't breed just for that one specific thing, just to make the one.
Yeah,
it's like
you can have somebody lined up to help you with the babies. There's plenty of people out there that are responsible enough that don't produce enough retics and might want what you have. There's certain species that people work with that they can't keep up with the demand and they buy from other breeders to keep up with their own demand. So, like I said, just the managing of your business a little better.
It's crazy how within 1 year I went from I need to maximize my ball python clutches to where like, fuck, like that is not the game plan. Not even a little bit. Like, and not because I just realized I don't have that much I really want to hold back. And I only want to fucking produce stuff that I want to keep. Like, I don't want to get caught into the like, oh man, this is what's hot in the market. Or this is stuff I know I could get rid of or sell. When no, you don't, there's nothing guaranteed. Like by the time those snakes get to you, something could completely happen to the market where now what are you going to do? You know what I mean? And I did not want to sit on a bunch of fucking ball pythons like that at all. Even though they're just ball pythons, I like to interact with what I like to interact with. I'm sorry. And at the end of the day, I don't want to be sitting on shit I don't want to have in my collection. That right there makes things not fun for me. That's how I feel.
And nothing wrong with that. Like I said, we talked about this in the beginning of the episode. If you're not passionate about something, you're probably not going to do your best work. You're never going to be able to see what the next step is if you don't care about what you're working with. That's why it's hard to be good if you're doing 10 or 20 different species. Could you imagine being able to look at 10 or 20 different species and knowing the right thing to do for every one of them, whether it's designer mutations or anything else?
What is that noise, Dave?
That's Bree this time. That's not the dogs anymore.
Tell her to come on.
Hi, Bree. At least she's not coughing her ass off. Normally she's like choking down fucking bong loads and shit. And
she might come in when she settles down and puts pants on.
Tell her I'm here. She'll come in. She doesn't need pants.
Megan, are you worried about where things are going to go future-wise with snake sales? Like, is there anything in your head that, and it could be maybe because of, just things that happen in certain states and whatnot, but do you feel like our future's kind of up in the air in a scary way when it comes to snake sales?
A little bit, but I think it's just going to be a lot stricter with a lot of things. I don't know. It kind of all depends. State by state, is what the kind of thing is.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm worried about it. It's just but then again, I don't try to overproduce where I can't try and sell stuff. I have 1 litter a year.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not super worried for myself trying to sell things, but yeah, being able to own them, because I don't ever want to give them up. That's what I'm worried about. If I could have to stop breeding them, I'll stop breeding them. I'll just keep them as pets. I love them.
Right. And then if, I'm just curious, price wise with things, how many other people are really making anacondas every year? Do you have somebody who's pumping these out every single year?
Consistently, not that I have seen. I know Nerd does it, but they're not
consistent.
They're not as consistent as I am.
Right.
So, besides, Andy Wickstrom, but he does hybrids and yellows a lot. I think he's only had 2 greens.
So you're saying, and so a market like the anacondas always will stay steady. You feel like the prices that you will always price your stuff at. Do you think that will ever change anytime soon or no?
I think when morphs are more available, I think the price will change. At least for the normals. I don't really know. As
in they'll become more affordable is what you're saying.
Yes, but I feel like that's a really long ways away because of how long they take to actually breed and grow up.
Right. And I don't think people understand that whole, how slow these things grow,
Females take 6 to 8 years to mature. Males take 3 to 4. Well, yeah, usually around 4 or 5 they'll end up breeding. Yeah.
And that's why I always say if time's on your side, you're in a good place. If you have nothing but time, then you're going to enjoy it.
I have a lot of patience to do it. There's a lot of people who get them, think they're going to breed, and then it takes too long and they get impatient and just screw this and end up selling it.
And I want to ask you, establishing though, is that kind of the same thing with every litter, or is every litter different when it comes to having to acclimate them and whatnot?
For me, it's kind of the same every time because I just do the same process every time to get them like started and all that other stuff.
Which is what? Let's go down the process real quick.
Well, when they're born, sometimes they'll shed within the first week. Other ones will take a month or two. Like it depends on the snake. I try and feed them right after their first shed. So.
Whoa. Cool light change.
My bad. Where did this go?
And what are we saying? Are we talking about you feeding chicks right off the bat, or what do you like to offer right off the bat?
So I try. Sorry, that was Andrew calling me. That was that light change.
Wow, Andrew. Where you at, woman?
I try and start them on rat pups, like live rat pups, and then if they don't want to eat it, I have frozen thawed chicks in my freezer, or frozen chicks. I just try and give them those too. If that doesn't work, mice and then fish.
Whoa.
But usually they'll do the rats first or chicks. Very rarely do I have to go to like mice or fish.
But that has been an option for you. Like you had no choice but to go that route. And I'm curious, who put you on that, or was that just something you thought of, or someone maybe offered, hey, try offering this?
It's kind of just a trick because I know like they live in water a lot of the time, so the fish can be an option. So you just kind of think of things because based off of like what you think they would be getting naturally.
Right.
So I start with rodents and then kind of move my way down.
Now, I mean, how many times have you had to assist feed any of them?
I think just once.
And that one bounced. It made it and started eating on its own.
Yeah, no, I still have her.
Oh,
yeah, no. She's like 6 feet now.
Oh, that's awesome. And so, what's your total anaconda count? Like all your holdbacks and everything. How many do you have?
I think like 22.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah, something like
that. That's cool. Damn. And then you obviously have ball pythons too, right? Like not a lot.
I got like 6 of them.
Which is, I think, is kind of funny when you just bust out a ball python clutch, and I'm like, what the hell? Like I wasn't expecting this. It's out of the blue, but I think it's cool.
I just have a couple morphs that I like, that I enjoy, and like I don't really sell them. Like I have a couple friends that just want pets, so I ended up just giving them pets, and I still help them out with the snakes. Like I give them the feeders for them all the time. So,
Dave, if you had to start from scratch, like let's just say everything was like you got a budget and the budget was basically endless, and you could do what you want, would you ever consider working with anacondas as a part of the game plan with what you have?
I mean, I've always wanted to keep anacondas. I was lucky enough to keep Ben's until we moved them over to Megan's house. I do really enjoy the species, but I will say, I can put 20 animals in the space. I can put one big animal. So it's just a matter if I want to work with that or a smaller species. You got to really commit to the size of that animal is what I'm trying to say.
I think bigger the better, but it just depends on who. Volume, right? Volume's everything. Some people want to keep more than just one of something. And Dave's right. If you want one anaconda, that's going to take a whole lot of space at some point. But I don't know. How many times are you like actually taking your anacondas out to like either go outside or like, do you have any kind of like routine with that, Megan?
I wouldn't say it's a routine, but like I'm taking something out every single day. I'm in there every day. I'm cleaning every day. I don't always show it, but I'm taking stuff out every day and holding them and dealing with them, and handling them. So
Dave, load up a wrap-up question. I'm gonna give mine. Are you cool with that?
I'll go with yours. I'll get mine in a moment.
Okay. So, and actually, why don't we just shout out Chip's $5 super chat here? Both my male and female anacondas are not eating. Do they want to breed?
Depends on how big they are.
Yeah, you gotta be a little bit more specific than that, Crunch. Thank you very much.
We're kind of out of breeding season right now. Like the normal breeding season, it starts like March, ends late April. Sometimes it'll go into June, but it's also like when their natural rainy season is when like they'll usually start the cycle on their own.
So you don't pair till March?
It depends on the female because you kind of have to figure out when their cycles are. But yeah, March is when I start most of my females.
What's puppies?
See, she's weird because she has dropped a litter it's all based off when like the last time they dropped. So she's dropped in October, she's dropped it in December. So she'll start early, she'll start late.
Later, right? Okay, so she's even gone back and forth. Then you're saying that she's gone December before. How many litters has she's given you? 2?
3.
3. Oh wow! So you're talking about going at one time, then later, and then going back early again.
So she actually went late the first 2 times, and then early the last time. So she kind of went backwards. It was weird.
Wow. All right. So I have a wrap-up question for you before we get to Dave's. Obviously, reticulated pythons have been known to just, there's no big enough cage for them, right? Like you could put them in a huge cage and they'll utilize every single inch of that cage. So do you feel like if someone out there wants to just commit to one anaconda, they should consider doing that, giving them as big as a cage as possible? Or do you feel like an anaconda could just live just as happy in a 8x6 or whatever the size needs to be? But I'm just curious on how much do you feel like beneficial would be to have an anaconda in a bioactive UBV, birds fucking flying, whatever you could think of. You know what I mean?
I mean, it all depends because like they seem to kind of be lazier than retics. They don't move as much. They do like to sit in the water a lot. So if you're going to build like a bioactive cage, definitely give it a bigger water, like pond. But they're going to, if you have them in the cage like that, they're going to sit in their water like 90% of the time.
Yeah.
So,
which I think is cool looking. If you could pull that off, fuck yeah. Dave.
Well, I hope it's not too depressing of a question, but with you moving to Illinois, if certain states start regulating big species again, and Illinois might be one of the ones that could do it, who knows? Would you run state to stay with your species, or would you give up the big stuff if your state wouldn't let you do it anymore?
I think I'd move.
It's
like, it all depends on the state you're going to, too, because a lot of states are a lot more lenient with laws like that. Like I know Indiana doesn't have like any laws against a lot of stuff. Which again, he lives like 10 minutes from Indiana, so just
you don't want to live in Indiana. You do not want to live in Indiana.
I'm not saying I want to. I'm just saying
get your ass back to California if Chicago doesn't work out, and we keep.
California is just as strict with laws. If not, it's going to be worse.
We're set. Here's the thing with Cali: we've been strict, and ain't nothing changing. That we're actually Cali's better off than most states because how strict shit's been. So Arizona, no, thank you. Nothing's better than where we're from, dude. You know that.
I don't know. I like Arizona a lot more.
No, well, because then you don't like Mexican food and you don't like fucking luxurious moments.
I've spent like half my life in Arizona.
Oh, that's probably why. Okay. See, I don't really. Every time I go, I hear it's really, really hot. I've only been
like
once. Yeah. See, fuck. Oh yeah, dude. Who am I talking? Havasu Queen over here, who fucking just rips down the boat, fucking on the lake. But how fast that thing go? That thing goes at least 140,
130.
Dude, what scares me about your videos is obviously you record yourself hauling ass on the water, but who has seen that speedboat video when there's like that group of like 4 people and they're just going and whoop, bam, and you just see all of them get wiped out. My heart races every time I see one of your videos.
So that guy who was driving that boat had no idea what he was doing because like
he sure looked like he did.
No, he didn't. So he's like, I had to watch that video a million times. Because in order to be able to get insurance and drive, our boat, you have to take a class in order to do it. So just the mechanics behind everything going on in that video was wrong. If that's happening where you're bouncing, you pull back, you trim it.
You don't go forward.
You don't keep going. No.
Wow.
So there's a lot wrong in that video.
And that video, every time it's like, wow, these people are having the time of their lives. Nope, never mind.
No, they're scared shitless.
I always wondered, like, what happened to anyone? Like, did anyone have permanent damage from that?
I think they had injuries. I don't think about permanent damage.
Injuries.
Major injuries is when you get thrown out of the boat. They all landed in the boat.
Yeah. So. Damn it, Megan. You're late, but it was okay because you still made it and you made this episode what it was. I thought this was a great time having you back on, and I think this was cool to have you and Dave sit here and just be weird. This is but weird is a good thing, obviously. So Megan, what do you have to say to all your supporters out there? Like I said, you are a huge influence to not only to the new keepers or keepers who've been following you, but like, all the women keepers, man, all the lady keepers. So I'm just saying, what do you have to say to all your support and all the people who rock with you? And Andrew, what do you have to say to Andrew?
I love Andrew, but I don't know what to say in these situations. I'm
Say
very awkward. I have no. Thank you.
There you go. That was great.
I have no idea. Anytime someone asks me, I have no idea what to say.
Okay, well, you're very honest, and that's why I love you, Megan. If anyone needs to just kind of be on top of what you might have available at any point, what's the best way for people to be on top of that? Following you on Instagram, or what should people do?
Instagram, my Facebook page. I post any updates, anything I have available on my social medias, basically, which, I don't really do anything besides Facebook and Instagram, but yeah.
Your TikTok's pretty big, isn't it?
Yeah, but I don't sell on there.
Yeah, but I mean,
videos.
You attract attention, and I don't know why you don't do YouTube. Why don't you do YouTube?
I'm really bad at being on camera.
No, you're not.
Well, filming myself doing stuff, yeah, I'm bad at it.
You do.
I'm very judgmental.
All your viral stuff are you recording yourself. What are you talking about?
But
you got no excuse, buddy. You should be killing it right now on YouTube.
Okay, yes, but it's not me setting up a camera, doing that. It's just my security camera footage, or me setting up my phone. I'm not talking in 90% of those videos.
Megan, your dad sold the company. You need to figure something out.
I think I have things figured out.
I think you do too. You got an awesome soon-to-be husband. I love Andrew as well. What a guy. Give him my love. But guys, it's a wrap for Megan. Give it up, ladies and gentlemen. Megan, have a good night. Thank you so much again. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Peace. What a girl. Gotta love her.
Oh, yeah. I don't even think we got to talk about it. Daniel Tosh used the picture of her for one of his memes on his Facebook page. And did you see that Ozzy man put her in one of his videos?
No.
Yeah, he put it was when one of the retics tried to grab her and then she flipped it off. He ended up using that clip for one of his videos.
No way. And where can you see this at?
I'll dig it up for you. I sent it to Megan originally, so I can find it again. I got you.
Well, listen, you do got me, and I appreciate you hanging out with all of us again tonight, Dave. You were missed, buddy, but we all know you're grinding. We all know you're doing your thing. What do you got to say, all your supporters out there? Everyone loves seeing you tonight.
Well, it was good to be back. I apologize on the last gap again. I wanted to do some stuff when I was in Florida, and I ended up going the family route, which was the responsible thing to do.
Exactly.
But no, we'll be doing more soon. Like you said, I don't know if we got anybody lined up for next week. I know we're going to talk to a couple people this week, but we'll have a banger next week. I promise we'll get a good person on here that no one expects.
It's always a banger when you're involved. I got to tell you, man. Never miss.
I'm here to bang with you, buddy.
Guys, give it for my boy Dave. I appreciate it, Dave. Have a good night, man. Thank you so much. Peace. All right, guys. Thank you out there. If you tapped in and haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. And the likes are respectable. I appreciate all the likes. But yeah, man, if you want to be on top of reptile content, if you want to be tapping in with some of the best people in the reptile industry, this is the podcast to be subscribing to. And then if you hit that bell and select all, you'll be on top of every single piece of content, every single highlight, every single pre-recorded episodes. I don't do a lot of pre-recorded episodes, but I do drop them, like for instance, the Bob Clark episode that's dropping Tuesday. Now, I got to tell you, if you want to catch this Bob Clark episode before Tuesday, if you want to catch the unedited, raw, director's cut Bob Clark reptile episode, then you got to go down to the very first link in the description below and join the Trap Talk Patreon family. This episode is now available for Patreon members only. So, exclusive content, take advantage of it because it's raw. Got to tell you. This episode was weird and raw. I love this episode. This was great. I love you guys. Appreciate all the love and support. I will catch you guys here Monday. New Breed on the Block series. But enjoy your weekend. Be safe. And again, man, thank you for all the love and support. I'll catch you guys here next time. And I'm out. Cheers.